Hello, hello, beautiful humans. Welcome to another episode of Teach Jenn Tech. And today we have, before the show, I asked him how to say his name. Now we're going to, because I started saying in my head, magic, but it's
I like this version. I know that some people that have problem pronouncing my name, which is Maciek.
Maciek. Like if you say it, I
Say
feel like I can say it, but then after that,
I
I'm like,
ev-
wait.
I even have a photo when I was at Starbucks buying coffee, and they asked me for my name, and I have it written on the cup, Magic. So Magic.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
official.
I will say I hate this. It's something that I've always struggled with, and I feel very, very fortunate for those from all around the world are patient. I hate that as like Americans, we've kind of like cut it short for everybody. Like we give them nicknames and stuff, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. I have it's frustrating. So thank you. And I mean, I like
But
magic too, but
But still, there are many good news. For example, I could be called Grzegorz.
what is that?
I mean, the cool part about Grzegorz that there is Greg. It's short for. I mean, Greg is short for Grzegorz,
Oh,
and Maciek doesn't have the English form, so
oh, okay.
it's more difficult here.
Got it. Okay, well, please introduce yourself as I got stuck on names and what we're going to be learning about today.
Okay, so I work as a WordPress ambassador. So this is a typical dev role at a Polish company called Buddy.works. And we are working on a CI/CD application. So application that will help you automate all your deployments, and not only because you can do lots of different magical stuff if you just have some time and some ideas. And yeah, we're gonna talk about automation because for most of my life I was a developer before I became a DevRel, and the thing that unites us and system administrators is the fact that we are lazy. I mean, I know that I always should say the word efficient. Many people say that using word efficient rather than lazy sounds better, but let's be honest, it's not about efficiency. It's kind of about this laziness. But this is the
Mm-hmm.
laziness that drives us forward and make us do different things, thanks to which we don't have to waste so many time doing those boring, repeatable things. And yeah, and that's what. And we'll talk about this: how to automate our deployments and what, in general, the CI/CD is.
And I think this is just like the week because so Homie and I had a call earlier today talking about a lot of this, just automation in life, just like everything, because I definitely am falling behind on a lot of stuff. And then also it was earlier this week we talked to Leo about data models. So it's like figuring out that data model to find out what you can automate. And I'm excited to learn about this because I feel like laziness is working smarter, not harder. And
Exactly.
so, and thank you, homie, for joining me again today. And what is CIDC?
CI/CD,
CICD.
yes.
Okay,
So
CICD.
this this one of those abbreviation that people in IT love to use to show how smart they are and that no one knows what we are talking about. And this is cool. But in general, CI/CD means the CI part means continuous integration, which is just every time you push a change to your code, test it. That's it. It's simple as that. I mean, really, this the whole philosophy behind CI/CD is really simple. And the CD part means two things because it's either about continuous delivery or deployment. One means that every time when we tested our code, we prepare everything to make it, let's say, deployable. So we're just waiting for a sign or our let's say senior developer or manager that okay, let's release this today. But every time the code passes the test, it's ready. So we aren't in a situation when our code is ready, but we can't deploy it yet because we have to do something more. No, it's everything always prepared for it, just pressing the button to release it. And continuous deployment means that every time when the test passes, we are deploying everything automatically, just like this. This means we have to have our test suite uh, really strict, really great, and we have to be prepared for it. So it's difficult to achieve, but yeah, it's doable. On the other hand, there is nothing wrong in releasing everything manually. I mean, having the sign to release it. But on the other hand, when we try to introduce CI/CD into our flow, sometimes the introductions looks a bit weird because sometimes we start with the CD part because it's easier to do rather
Mhm.
than the CI part. And what is the most important about CI/CD, or let's call it really deployment automation, because that's all what it is. Um, it's not a tool. It's not a tool. It's not even not a tool set. It's a philosophy or a methodology of how we work. So we don't need any tool for it. We could do everything just by remembering to run some tasks before pushing our code into the Git repository because that's it. But it's really important to be first of all very transparent with all the team because we have to use a repository and we have to be strict about the test and also we need to write them at some point. But the good news is, oh, and it's also what's important. It's like language agnostic, so we can use CI/CD in whichever language we write, and it doesn't matter. And this was kind of a problem for me because I wanted to prepare something cool, and I started wondering, yeah, but if I know that PHP is not so sexy anymore, so and I'm mostly PHP developer.
We can try it, but
But I
really,
decided
really
that
quick.
I will show the also language agnostic approach, how
Okay.
to create a part of our CI/CD deployment on a website that really it doesn't matter in which it is written, we will be able to use it.
I dig it. And hello, Noel. And okay, so continuous or CI CD is continuous integration and continuous deployment.
Deployment and delivery, there are a few parts under the CD, and it's not compact this anymore.
Okay. I was just writing it and I was like, I just want to put it in the chat so I make sure everybody had that written out. All right. Well, where does one start with CITC? Because you said that not everybody can do the CI part, but may do the CD part. And what up,
Yes, I
Ben?
mean, mhm. I see it like this because most companies start at one of two moments. First of all, thanks to the fact that if we're using some CI/CD application, it also helps us in this when it comes to security because this is this hub through which everything has to go. So we don't have to share FTP passwords and logins to users. So the moment when we have, for example, a breach or a person left the company and for some reason some changes appeared on one of the websites he used because we forgot to reset his password or something like this is one of the moments when some people, okay, we need to centralize it and how to do it. And they learn, okay, maybe let's use something to automate the whole deployment so we won't have to give away those logins and passwords. So this is one way. And the second one is the moment when we just deployed on production a major fuck up rather than working code. So we try to learn, okay, so what to do not to do it again, how to prevent it, how could we test it, how could we check it. And this is the moment when they probably start learning about some testing. And when they start about testing, they learn about the whole flow of CI/CD. And
Interesting.
sometimes it's all about, I mean, this the my um, my way was with the laziness, because at the moment when I started playing around with all those with all building of converting SAS into CSS, building JavaScript, and doing many things before deploying code, it started to get a bit annoying to always prepare it locally and remember to deploy everything. So it, like I said, it got boring. So, and I don't like boring stuff.
Uh,
So,
Real
mhm.
quick, homie asked a question in the chat for Ben, so maybe Ben's still listening. Of if Ben's site is still using CIDC tasks or flow. I asked, I wanted to call that one out because my question was also going to be to everybody joining us, like how well known is like CIDC? Is it like everybody kind of uses it on the down low, or not really? Let's see.
Uh, yeah,
Ben
at
did
work for
reply.
sure, we have a
Yeah.
full-fledged CI/CD pipelines that take ages for my place. Uh, Sort of, yeah, exactly. And that's it, because we don't always have to run all the tests, because we can run like gazillions of tests that will take an hour. But sometimes we just need a simple check. Okay, everything looks as it looked like, and we can deploy. That's it. And it's working after deployment. So sometimes it's
Okay.
very simple. Yeah, it's not the full CI/CD methodology, but we automated it. We automated it enough to not worry about what happened after us pressing the deploy button. And if something goes wrong, we will get I don't know, email or a message on Slack that, yeah, something go wrong. Go back to your computer, fix it.
I mean, that's probably what Zoom is feeling. I feel like Zoom had an outage. I heard they had an outage today. So it was like something happened that they
Yeah,
didn't check, or
I read
somebody.
about it. Yeah.
It's crazy how quickly news spreads when something that is so used, like
That's
it
true.
everyone knows, like if Slack goes down, there's
Exactly.
I'm interested. So would something like CIDC help prevent any bugs going out then because it's being checked, or can things still pass through it even if you ran all your checks?
Of course they can, because someone has to write those tests, and we are human, so we are making mistakes. So
Yeah.
it's more important right now is to find what was the problem, why the bug went through, and fix the test. So the next time when we'll make a similar mistake, it will be caught before pushing. Yeah, because I'm sure that all those enormous companies like Slack, like Zoom, like Microsoft, thanks to CI/CD, they are preventing like at least few times a day a deployment that would crash and burn the moment when it would reach the final server, and everyone would be like on Twitter, "Hey, Microsoft, this isn't working again. They messed it up." And I'm
Yeah,
sure they are
right.
preventing it like really many times. The thing is that still we have to write those some of those tests, so it's still likely that something will go wrong, or sometimes the infrastructure will go wrong. So and there is also one thing, and this is something that I can't wait, because I will be doing a webinar in a month about this, because there is a huge segment of automating manual testing, because there are things that only humans can test in a proper way, because automated tests will have some, let's call it, they will be a bit flaky. We will be never sure if it was for sure working or kind of not. Or so it's also a whole segment of automating the human test. So in general, testing is such a wide area. We can like test everything. We can start with those simple things like automate, for example, if our lighthouse score went up or down, because it's a great thing to check, right? If our lighthouse score went down, maybe we shouldn't release it because something is wrong with our code. We can compare screenshots of our website before and after the deployment, so we can check if our small change in CSS didn't break something on the other hand about which we forgot. And thanks to
Mhm.
something like this, we can see that there is a difference and we didn't thought about it, so we can block the release. We can, yeah, there are many things we can check. We can check the behavior. So for example, if I will go to my website, click on the about section, click here, it should show some, let's say, a h1 header. If it
Mhm.
doesn't, it's a bug because it always should be here, and for some reason it wasn't. And it's also great that there are so many tests that we can run, um, like only by providing, I don't know, a URL or just clicking some stuff.
Interesting.
I will show the how to use, for example, Ghost Inspector. This is
Okay.
something really remarkable how easy it is to create those simple end-to-end tests. So I mean, we
Got
are
it.
really living in a beautiful world here.
Quick break from Ben saying, yeah, definitely bugs sneak in, but being able to run your linter and test every time you make code changes, and then failing the build so you can't deploy it if your lint tests fail can keep you from a lot of bugs getting released. And another thing, the whole team can see the states of your CI CD pipelines, which encourages transparency rather than only relying on Scout's honor that everyone is running lint tests locally.
Exactly.
And oh, I like this way of explaining it. CIDC as automated accountability.
That's true. That's true. Really,
And
man. That is really true because yeah, this is a totally different way of thinking about how we are working with our code. I remember that one company we had a problem with one developer who felt, um, in short, he didn't felt well about the fact that his code had to be checked, it had to be reviewed, it was checked by those machines. He felt really bad about it, and at some point he just stopped working with us because he didn't like it. And okay,
interesting.
yeah, it's I mean, it's another thing about talking about code review, the way how we are doing them. For example, I learned last week about something called blameless debrief. This is really interesting because this is also a bit connected with this. It's a part of this. It's called site reliability engineering, and this blameless debrief is yes, because bugs happen, we make mistakes, but when we are trying to find out what happened, we don't care about who did it. We are trying not to blame a person. It's more about why it happened and what steps we should do to prevent from it happening again, just like this. We are not concentrating on a person, we are just concentrating on the why.
Interesting. I am going to paste this into the chat. I just Googled it a bit. A few things that come to mind is the fact that, first off, linting, just I'm pretty sure like tons of people probably know this, but to make sure I fact check, my understanding is linting is just something to kind of like the prettier app in VS Code where it just checks your code. Do you have the right spacing? Is there a comma? Is there a semicolon? Did you close that bracket?
Exactly.
Also, have are you goodness, what is it called now? Where there's a at least in JavaScript, where if you don't use that I'm totally spacing what they're called right now. Not variable.
Constants and all those
Thank
things,
you.
right?
If you don't use your constant, it likes to freak out and be like, you're not using it. What are you doing? So linting is literally just making sure, like giving your code some guidelines and letting you know
Mhm.
as you code that there's issues, right?
Yes, but still, this is and this is something that Ben mentioned. It's relying on Scout's honor that everyone is using it.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we always should add such a step in our CI/CD pipeline. So, for example, every time we deploy code, one of the first steps we are using prettier or linter, or if we are using PHP, we are using PHP code sniffer, something like this. It's like I said, different languages, different technologies, but they all do the same. And we are making sure that everyone did it
Okay.
because I know that we should trust people,
Right.
but on the other hand, we shouldn't trust people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you trust people, but it's not because you don't think they don't have good intentions. It's because we all make mistakes, no matter what.
Exactly, because
Like,
we are people. We are
mhm.
people, and sometimes during, I don't know, we are trying to release a hot fix. I don't know, something is happening outside because we never know. I mean, we very often judge a developer just by the code he pushed, and sometimes we don't know what just happened on the other end of the monitor. I don't know, his baby started crying, something happened, and he just missed something, and he just pressed push, and that's why we should check for it because it wasn't his bad intention. I mean, in most cases, I mean, if a developer is trying to push an error um, because he wants to push an error, that's a problem. But in most cases, they don't. They just want to release a good code. But again, we are humans. Sometimes we just stop thinking about something. We just made a mistake.
And Ben added this earlier that CI CD isn't just about testing. At his old job, anytime they wanted to release, they had to submit a hella tedious form describing what the changes were going live. So tedious, and no one wanted to do it. But getting it wrong could lead to the team's risk getting slapped. So we wrote a script that automatically submitted that form in our CI/CD. So all devs had to do was give it a once over, and I find that interesting. But
I
okay.
mean,
Oh, I was
I
just gonna
can
say.
tell that I just, for example, when it comes to those scripts lately, because we know that we shouldn't release on Friday, right? So I
Mhm.
lately wrote a small script that runs always before the deploy. If it's Friday, it's always failing. It's blocking us. Just a
Oh, that's
joke, but
cool.
it's not only about testing. It's sometimes about things, those small things like this.
Interesting. And I will say it wasn't until this morning that I'm talking to a Android developer that I was like, I used to tell people in 2007 when Android phones like first got launched that, oh, it's open source, so anybody can develop those apps. Y'all, I just realized this morning that I was talking about open source, like OSS open source. I was
Mhm.
like mind blown. I'm sharing that because now that I've like seen GitHub and stuff like that, and like as you're starting to explain CIDC, um, CICD, I'm gonna get the acronyms. Is so how do people go in and submit these if like submit hacking things if they have to be approved, or if somebody does have CIDC, CICD.
Uh,
I don't know
I
why that
mean,
catches my curiosity so
I mean,
much.
no, but it's a very good, and valid question because yeah, we can think of, yeah, we have all those automation, we have all those tasks, and still some people are able to push something through. First of all, many tests are just checking if the code is correct. So
Oh, okay.
so because in most cases we are writing a function, a method, whatever,
Hmm.
and we are writing tests to check if it works correctly. So probably there won't be any test that will check that yeah, someone is trying to download something from another website and it's a virus and something like this, not out of the box. Of course there are services that are doing it, so
Yeah.
this is
To the way that I'm like hearing that is basically like these tests can check to see if I wrote my name, I am Jen, but they're not going to catch it if it uses one N instead of two N's because technically it's correct. It is I am Jen. Is kind of how I'm hearing that as a way that the tests do it is they just check is it correct, but not is it spelled right.
or I would even say that or yeah, this is one example, and then another thing is that someone just submitted something totally different that doesn't affect this
Mm-hmm.
part. Just and this is the moment when we humans are so important in maintaining a project
Mm-hmm.
because the whole point of CI/CD is making us developers focus on what matters. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more important how to write an algorithm, how to create the idea behind, or when it comes to open source project, to maintain and check if someone didn't just submitted a really horrible pull request that would, I don't know, re- delete our database or something like this. It's on us, on the human. But thanks to CI/CD, we don't have to worry about all those things we just automated. We can just
Mm-hmm.
focus on the things, because every time when we are using this, when we are using CI/CD when it comes to pull requests, first we are running everything that is automated. So if
Mm-hmm.
something is broken, the user that submitted the pull request gets the line, sorry, there is an error in this test, do
Mm-hmm.
something about it. So this person will either first try to make it working, or will describe why he thinks that the test is failing because it's written in a wrong way, because tests sometimes are also written in a bad way,
Mm-hmm.
because we are humans.
Mm-hmm.
But still, we have like most of the boring, tedious work uh, done by a machine. We can just focus on checking out the code, seeing it. Okay, this code really doesn't look good. Someone is trying to push something bad into our repository. We should just delete this pull request and like this. So but like I said, there are also services, if I remember, that are checking for security. So it's also changing in this way. So more and
Yeah.
more things, because sometimes it's really hard to spot something. I mean, there are, for example, ways how to inject some really not nice code inside of a SVG file, because it's JavaScript, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's be
Interesting.
honest. If someone would submit a pull request with, and one of its parts would be a SVG image that you are suspecting that should be there because of an icon that should be added, let's be honest, you will never check what's inside of the SVG file, right? Because yeah, it's an SVG file. It's great, cool,
All
nice.
right. All right.
And
I dig
this
it.
might be the problem. And this might be the problem. So yeah, it's really all about making the machine take over the boring stuff, the tedious stuff,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that we can miss, so we can focus on only on the things that we know the machine can miss, and that we don't have to worry about looking at like everything because we are just have a small portion left to check if it's okay.
Okay. I feel like I now have a better understanding about it. Now I'm excited to see like this in action.
Okay, so we are going to. Okay, let me just move this. Yes, I will be now looking a bit more here. Let's share the screen. It will be. Wait a second. Okay, it's this one. Okay, can you? Okay, that's perfect. So we are going to deploy and test this small little Astro site. Um, so I will be using Buddy because of few reasons. First of all, I work there and I have unlimited access to it, so it's great. And on the other hand, Buddy has really one amazing feature. It has the whole UI, and you don't need to worry about writing, for example, like in GitHub
Okay.
Actions, all those JSON files and anything. You can just click here and there, and everything will be working. Okay, so I have this here deployment pipeline called just in case. So if I will forget something or I will have a place to go and see what I have messed up. I
Okay.
already connected my repository of this palmiac/webinar.astro, and it's nothing more than a simple static Astro website. Okay, so let's do so. Let's start with the CD part. Let's start with the deployment. So let's call this action deploy, and let's set it that it will deploy every time we will change something in the master branch. So we don't have to even go later into body. Every time when we will change our code, something will deploy. So and we will deploy it to Netlify because everyone is using Netlify these days, right? So we have Netlify. If I remember, when it comes to Astro, it will be this product unlock, and we need this. I have set up some things, so we will be deploying this folder into. Okay, but there is a problem. If we want to deploy an Astro website, we first have to build it. There is this. First, we have to install all the npm packages, and then we have to build it every time. So we have to first add one more action called Node.js, and we have to do something like this. Yeah, we have to run two commands, npm install and npm run build. So what does it mean? That every time when we will change something in our repository, first we will rebuild the whole we will rebuild this folder, and this folder will be deployed to Netlify. So let's change something in our code, right? So let's go to src, let's go to pages, let's go into the index. Yeah, I will use the GitHub editor, it's enough. Hello, let's call it hello CI/CD astronaut, right? Let's commit the change. And I push the deployment, and you see it's already running. I didn't press anything here. It's running automatically. First deployment takes a bit longer, but we'll see what is happening. So right now, the Docker image was downloaded. We built everything. We can see the whole structure that was built. And right now we are deploying the dist folder into Netlify. So let's. And here we have the website URL. So I have this. Let's hope that caching. But it was simple, but it happens automatically. So every time when we will check something, if we'll change something, it will get automatically deployed to our server. Amazing. The problem is, if we will mess up something, I mean, the good part is if we'll mess up something, that probably the build action will crash, so it won't go further to the deploy. So it's okay. But let's start doing some maybe some tests before those simple ones. First, there is this really cool thing about Netlify, that each deployment has this unique deploy URL. So right now, let's just go here to, we are using this prod if unlocked. So in short, we are deploying it on production, which is cool, but it's kind of not safe because we don't know, because if we broke something, we deployed it to production. So that's why we are going to play around a bit with this, with the fact that Netlify is always providing us with those cool things here, and we can do something about it. So it would be great to get this unique deploy URL. So this is when a bit of coding is useful. So first of all, but just a few, I will read. We have to install this library called JQ. It's for parsing JSON files. And we are going to do something like this. I have it, but I will explain. So we will assign the deploy URL from everything we had there to a variable called deploy URL. And having this variable inside of body, we can pass it to different actions. But we have to first create one more small thing, but let's save it right now. And let's go back to actions and to variables. We're going to create a variable called deploy URL. It's not hidden. And it enabled changing the value during pipeline execution, because this is what we are doing in the middle of the action. So let's run it right now manually and see what will happen. Because one thing will, it should change. I hope I didn't break something. Because this is the cool part about all those live webinars. Every time when you are so sure that everything will work, you will mess up something. But I hope not this time. So yeah, the cool part also when it comes to not only body, because every CI/CD application works like this right now, that every step is executed in a separate Docker-based container. So we can use different. Oh, and you see, we have added this deploy URL as this variable called. I mean, this URL is set as this deploy URL, which is cool. And now let's add something. Let's add something more. Oh, and one thing, you see, there is no prod if unlocked, so we are not deploying this on production yet. That's why now we are going to do a simple, let's say, a lighthouse test. It was called, and see, it's helping. I have the deploy URL, and we have to be sure that our performance, accessibility, best practices, and SEO score is better than 50. It's easy to pass, and because we passed it, so we won't be reaching production yet. So if the score will be lower than one of those values, our deployment will stop. So let's do it, and let's see what will happen right now. So this will probably take a second. But
so is Buddy Astro is Buddy a plugin for Astro?
No. Buddy is totally language, framework, and everything agnostic. We can use it with everything.
Okay. So
in my cases, I use Buddy mostly with WordPress, but also with different frameworks. I have my website built on StateMic, So I'm also deploying it using StateMake. I'm also deploying StateMake using Buddy. So you can use everything you want with it. If there is a Docker image, you can run it.
Okay. I'm gonna send this link to you in the private chat before I send it out in the main chat, because if I'm reading this right, this is just talking through, because Astro is something that a lot of people use as well. That
this is the link to the documentation I written for Astro, because I'm a big fan of Astro. So
okay. So this is the proper link.
Exactly.
Okay.
And take a look. Astro is really fast, and we have this performance, accessibility, best practices, and 100. That's perfect. But right now, we didn't deploy it to production, right? Because we only we checked if everything's so. Right now, we should add another Netlify deployment. This time to production. We don't have to worry, and it should be something. Okay. So right now, between this and this, we can run all those different tests we want to check if we didn't screw something up. So let's add something more. Maybe it was called a screen. Oh, it's called visual tests. Visual test is amazing. It shows us, so we will have to run it twice. Because first time we can set some options here, like the width and height of the screen, the pixel tolerance level. But let's leave it as it is, the most basic comparison. So the first time, I see that someone asking about Netlify has a built plugin. No, we are using our own. And why? To be honest, I always prefer the approach to have all the heavy lifting in one place and use Netlify as just a hosting platform. So for me, I will always use, because imagine that at some point you have this really long CI/CD flow. You really done a lot of work towards it. It's working. At some point, Netlify. And you are keeping all the CI/CD stuff inside of Netlify. You are not using Buddy. And at some point, Netlify decided to change their pricing. And now you are starting moving everything. And right here, I have all the heavy lifting inside of Buddy, and I'm just deploying it to Netlify. If at some point Netlify decides, okay, we will have more expensive pricing, and I decide, okay, so let me move to, I don't know, Cloudflare pages or whatever, I will just change to actions, but the rest will happen as it was happening before. So I prefer to have everything as those small blocks that I can every time change a bit without worrying about the rest. So this is my approach. I mean, I understand that if the same could happen with, I don't know, raising prices on Buddy or removing some features, but still, I would prefer to keep. I mean, I kind of don't trust all those hosting companies. And Netlify is still a hosting company, and I prefer to have the heavy lifting outside of them. Still, I like Netlify. It works really great.
Cynthia, did that make sense to you? Just to double check.
And in the meantime, I will run it for the first time because, like I said, we will need to run twice. Because first, it will take the initial screenshot, and the second time we will correct something. We will change something in our code, and we will see if we would catch it as a, not as a bug, but as a change that we will have to approve manually. Okay. Because those visual tests are more about approving something or not. And visual tests can save I mean, especially when imagine you have a website that have 4 crucial pages, like let's say it's contact, it's about us, and something else. And you should check those crucial sites every time with visual tests. So you are sure that this small change you added to a CSS, for example, that should only affect, let's say, a cart page, by some reason affected one of those. You will be able to see it. So, okay, so we have this initial change, and now let's go back into the code and let's change something in it. So, hello CI/CD astronaut, and maybe let's add. Let's be professional. Let's add an owl here, right? So let's commit the change. And it's running already. We can see it here. It's in progress, so we'll have to wait a second. Yeah, and also the cool part, while during webinars, it may seem that, yes, CI/CD is only taking time. Yeah, that's true, it is taking time. But when we are working with it every day, the moment when we push something, we just push it into our background. We don't have to focus on it. We can work on something else, and we don't have to worry about it until the moment when it, for example, informs us that, yeah, you made a mistake. We should. You will get a Slack notification, for example. I mean, this will be our next step. We'll add a notification for ourselves that we did something.
So that way
wrong.
it really can run in the background without paying attention.
Exactly. And this is something so amazing that, yeah, I can just go do myself a coffee and until I will hear my phone doing a ping or we did a. And this is interesting why it passed without. You see, this is the really cool part about. Oh, this is kind of weird. Wait a second. Huh, interesting. Yeah, I like this. Like I said, always during the live webinars when something can go wrong. Let's see what happened here. Oh. Interesting thing that for some reason this action has problems with emojis. It's really great to discover a bug during a webinar, right?
Yes.
Yes,
I
that's.
do have a badge at work on our community page that I'm the bug finder.
No, this is something really great because we can see that it should see the bug, but it. Okay, so if you are not using emojis, which I will, like I said, check after the webinar because it's not the time. It should spot an error that something changed in the.
Okay.
And we should get the option to approve or not. Because sometimes the change that happened, the screen change, is something that we wanted to happen because we change the content, we change the colors, we change something. So let me just disable this. But I mentioned the cool thing about the Ghost Inspector. The Ghost Inspector is something really cool. It's one of the easiest way to write end-to-end tests without touching a line of code. So, for example, let's go to our website. And it also has this add-on that helps you record a new test. So you just record it by clicking from site to site. So let's go for it. Let's record. So we are here. We went then go to the blog page and then go to the about page, and that's it. That's it for now. Let's call it name webinar testing, and let's be part of the Astro suite. Let's create a new one. And it's called also. Execute initial test run now. Default to save. Okay, and now if we go into our dashboard, should see our webinar testing We can edit the steps because let's say that because on about me, we see that about me is let's inspect it for a second. It's a H1 heading. So we want also to check if let's add a step and element text equals about. Okay. So the step is added. So let's save changes. Perfect. And now let's go into our body and let's add a new step. That is called, of course, a ghost inspector. I already integrated it and I can use not the folder, the suite called webinar. And I'm from more of the Ireland place. It's great. We don't have to worry. And the start URL, this is, of course, the great thing. We can use the start URL of the deploy URL that is passed, so it won't reach the production before we need this. Do we need anything else? No, we don't. Let's add this action. So, you know what, let me just disable the lighthouse for now. It will be a bit faster. So let's run it again. And in a moment, we will see that this ghost inspector will start running. So let's wait a second. Yeah, like I said, it's much better when it works in the background. Oh, I forgot about the notification. Oh, next time. Yeah, this is especially when I was doing some live workshops about doing it in WordPress. This waiting times, I had to be prepared for many. Let's go to webinar, and we see that it's running. It's running. It was triggered. And let's see what will happen. Will it pass? What will it not? Let's go back into body. Let's see here. I always like, yeah, we are sending data, so we are waiting. Yeah, this, like I said, this waiting part is always a bit annoying, especially doing webinars because the cool part is when at least there is a second person during the webinar, so you can chat about something. It failed. Why? So let's go here and let's see. Because I messed up the test, right? Because I forgot not the element equals, but it should be, sorry, my mistake. It should be h1 equals about me, right? So let's say change. And then we can, for example, run it again to see, yeah, let's run it again. And we can see if our test will pass this time. Yeah, because I made a mistake. I was looking for an element called about me rather than
instead of the H1.
Instead of H1. And let's be honest, the element about me didn't exist. So the test failed correctly. And this is also a great thing because it shows that, yeah, it's working. It's working. And right now, let's go.
And I think this is definitely something that I'm going to have to come back to later on too, in the fact that like it's good to like know these processes and that it's out there, yet at the same time I haven't done any of it yet. So I'm like, I get it, but I don't get it.
And now look here. It failed again, but now I knew it will fail because h1 text equals about me and the found text was about me with the capital M. This is a small typo, but of course we won't be in real life. We won't be writing something like this, but those tests will be different. And this attention to small details, it's important.
Mm-hmm.
When I was typing about me, did you remember that there was a difference in characters? No, of course not. No one does. Of course, and that's important. And right now, we should either correct our code or correct our test. It depends on where is the bug. I think we should correct the code, right? Okay, so let's go here. Let's go to the about. Let's edit it. And it should be about me with the small m, right? So it will be, so let's commit the change. And right now, everything is running again. So, yeah,
Mhm.
the fact that something fails, yes, that's great. It's better. This is also the thing we always have to learn when it comes to CI/CD, because very often we think that if something failed, that's bad. No, that's
Mhm.
great, because if something failed before reaching the production, that's great. We won't be hot fixing something on production, like hearing, for example, our boss screaming at us that our website is down, or it having
Yeah.
it has bugs or something like this. We are keeping everything out of production, so uh, this is amazing. I mean, that's great that we are having bugs. Uh, so then, now when we go, is it running? Oh, it's still sending data. So those scan. Let's go here. Oh, it passed. Oh, it passed. So we have the H1 about me. So yeah, it was that easy to create a simple test. And of course, we can do much more using the Ghost Inspector, because it has like uh, unlimited possibilities. As you see, webinar
Mhm.
passed, and then we deployed everything to production. So, and until it passed, it was prevented. So this is the cool stuff. And I mentioned about notification, right? I
Mhm.
will just show it because here we have a possibility to run different actions, because on run is when everything is okay. On failure, so every time when, let's say, something fails, we want to send ourselves a message. Yeah, I think I have all those. Oh yeah, let's say to random. And every time, I it's kind of interesting, because right now I'm not using Slack at the moment. But if something would fail, this general channel would get the message that body execution that started by me failed.
Mhm. That's
Let, let,
smart.
let me just add this action to see. So, and we can, of course, also add an action that when everything goes back to normal,
Right.
because this is also a really cool thing that we can do, because here all our changes run at the moment when either we run it manually or when we push a change to our code. But we can also create a pipeline that will run on schedule. So, for example, it will run every 5 minutes. So we can build a very simple uptime robot, just like this. So let's do it, right?
All
Let's
right.
build ourselves. We did it. Oh, robot cheaper. Okay, and we have this cool thing here called, if I remember, it was because we have quite a few of them. It's called website monitoring, and we can
That's
pass the
cool.
URL. What was the URL? This was this one. What
I
else?
like what Cynthia said. Fail fast, and that
Exactly.
is the such a true point. And then Homie said these checks will really help because small detailed syntax typos cause big and bigger problems. This is super interesting. The GUI looks intuitive.
Oh, thank you. That's really. I mean, I really often wonder how Buddy was born, because I know that the guys behind in the dev team, there are real nerds, that I think that they are mostly using CLIs and everything. At some point they decided, yeah, let's make a user friendly tool.
Hmm.
Oh, and apart from the URL, we have this really great thing, check for string. This is one of the at least for me, I think it's one of those very useful and important things to always add, because it is possible to deploy a website that will return a status of 200, so that it means that the website is in theory working, but for
Hmm.
example, it's blank. For
Hmm.
example, it's blank. So let's be sure that our footer is always deployed. So we know that it always should consist of this phrase, right? So this means that the whole website rendered at least until the footer. So
Interesting.
quite,
Okay.
quite useful. So we have it. So every 5 minutes we can already see the countdown, but we don't have time to waste. So let's run it. Let's run it manually. Yeah, it was that quick because it just downloaded. It found that this your name here was on the website, so we don't have to worry. And of course, we should add into our uptime robot an action that on failure, send us a notification, send us a email, whatever. It's really up to us. I mean, really, sky is the limit. I can say that one of the let me show you, because when I was having those workshops for WordPress, the pipeline that I showed here was that long.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think even at this point, because I know we got to wrap soon, is that it's something that once I build more, I think I'll be able to comprehend it a lot
Yes,
more. Like,
because this is the most important part. We can stop sharing already because I will go back more to
there we
talking.
go.
Okay. So, because one of the most important things when it comes to CI/CD is really go step by step. The
Yeah.
worst thing you can do, yes, let's add everything. Let's unit testing, end-to-end testing, whatever checks we have. If you try to add everything at the same time, you will probably fail because it's not that easy to do it
I
at
think
once.
I think even just like checking the like trying to add some random checks. And I feel like that's something that I could at least try to test now just to get in the habit of testing. Yet
Exactly. And
so at the same time, I'm like, this is such a big concept. This is gonna take me some
but
time
you
to like
use the one of the most important words, habit. Developing a
yes.
habit of it.
Yes.
Because really, CI/CD is simple when it comes to the whole concept. It's really that simple. On the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, it can get complicated the moment when we,
Mm-hmm.
with how the project grows, with how many tasks we have, and everything. But still, the concept behind is still simple. And having this as a habit, it's the most important thing. It's about not to deploy everything using FTP or some FileZilla or everything. Is to have a script, a set of actions that will always work in the same way. And if you will
Mm-hmm.
have one script, you will probably at some point create a template out of it. When you have a template, you will start cloning it for every website you have. And at some point you realize, yeah, quite often I have this and this mistake, so maybe I should add a check for it. And at some point, after a year or something of adding those small checks, you realize I have a quite long and detailed pipeline that checks many, many things for me, and I don't have to worry about it. And the moment when someone say, "Hey, could you deploy it using FileZilla?" and your reaction will be, "What? Without any testing, without anything? How?"
Right. Right.
Because it will become one of your habits. And it doesn't matter what applications you will use. It's really most about this. Like I said, it's a methodology. So it's all about habits, about spreading
Yeah.
this across the teams. That's it.
I think that's one of the hardest ones is when people are coming on and we need to talk about theory. Like the same with some of the theory. Oh, gosh, now I don't even remember what they're called. Yeah, like theories, I think are harder to conceptualize and until you get to that point, but being aware of them beforehand helps you get through them when you get to them.
Exactly.
So thank you once again for being on the show. And I'm also really excited because I feel like this could Cynthia, maybe one day if I can convince Cynthia to do it, is going to come on the show to talk about creating a Discord app. And I think that's something that like we could tie this into, even
Of,
if
course, because I can also tell you that we can have a notification on Discord, so we can connect the things, or we can prepare the whole deployment of this Discord applications using a CI/CD. So there are
Exactly.
so many ways we can connect everything with everything. I can tell you that one of the it was one of the stupidest thing I did when it comes to CI/CD, or the most smart idea. It really depends on which way you look at it. I created a pipeline, and I connect, and after everything ran correctly, it pinged this application IFTTT, something like this. It's for automation, and it played the Eye of the Tiger on Spotify on my mobile phone. So every time when everything went great, it played Eye of the Tiger on my mobile phone.
Okay, that's fun. Now I just
It was horrible after the third time, really, because when you heard the Eye of the Tiger every time, it's one of the best ideas you can have. But it shows you that, and this is also great because we have so many APIs right now. We can connect everything with everything. We can connect what's virtual inside of this testing thing, and after we don't only have to deploy something. We can, I don't know, connect it with our Philips Hue light, and it will light.
I was just thinking about that because there's Ian from Postman. He's created like lights in his background. I'm like, that's cool. I want to do that. So someday I will. And thank you, Magic, for coming on today. It was magical.
Oh, thank you, and that's especially this bug we discovered all together. But that's great. That's great. This is the beauty of live webinars. We are all learning. We are all learning on our mistakes, and
so much learning.
So much learning.
Well,
exactly.
Thank you again, and y'all,
thank you for having me. Thank you.
You can find his Twitter over there. Go follow, ask questions. It's always like weird to like point at our things. So, well, thank you all, and you as a heads up for everybody, no live stream tomorrow, Monday or Tuesday. So I'll be back next Thursday. Next week is Denver Startup Week. So I'm going to be in person at Denver Startup. But if you're in town, come hang out.
With real people. Amazing.
Real people. Real people, not online. I'm going to be with real people. Everyone's real. Just internet buddies versus in-person buddies. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye, everyone.